welcome to our 2020 town election coverage. We are doing a candidate forum today with long-term time planning board member Ernie Covino. Ernie, thanks for coming by and talking with us.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
So I mentioned long time. You've been on the board since 1989. It's 31 years. So I want to ask, what made you first want to, participate, and what's kind of kept you going for, all this time?
Well, truthfully, I was on the Board of Appeals for about 6 years before I got on the planning board. And Jack Kelly had approached me while I was on the Board of Appeals and said, there's going to be a vacant position open on the planning board. Are you interested? Because the selectmen and the planning board were going to get together to appoint somebody, and he was reaching out to people who he thought might be interested in doing a decent job. And so I said yes. So it's kind of, I gotta blame it on Jack.
Yeah, seems like it's his fault. And what made you kind of, every year or every, 3 years or 5 years?
Every 5 years,
yeah,
right.
5 years decide to re-up.
There always seemed to be something left to do, or something that I was in the middle of doing on the planning board and wanted to continue doing. We had a whole bunch of, over the years, we've had a whole bunch of planned development districts. We're starting with Corporate Center on Cambridge Street there, and Northwest Park, and what used to be New England Executive Park, and actually the Tavern was part of one.
Right.
So it got very interesting, and I felt that I was gonna. We moved to Burlington in 1974, and we liked it. We were gonna stay here, so I figured I might as well try and do something to help shape the town, and that's what kept me coming back. Keeps me coming back.
Well, I guess it is a very true thing to say that in the last 30 years in Burlington, there's always been something going on development-wise. So quite a lot of things, actually.
Right.
Just talk a little bit about yourself. You said when you came to town, what was your background, education, work experience that
Sure.
you think kind of helped you in this position?
Well, I spent a couple of years at Wentworth, graduated from Wentworth, and kind of by accident of birth, joined the family construction business that my grandfather had started back in 1935. We did specialized sub-foundation work, so it was really, as it turned out, it was good that it was that type business, construction business, because we very rarely did a project in Burlington. I think we've done 3 since the company was in business. I kind of, I got married in '68. We lived in an apartment in Woburn for a while, then bought a 2-family house in Medford. Then the family started to grow. We had 2 kids, and myself and my wife, Ruth, started looking around to different communities, wanting to buy a house. I grew up in Winchester, and
okay, so you're from the area.
Yeah, I'm from the area. She grew up in Medford. We probably weren't going to be able to afford a house in Winchester. We weren't going to be able to afford a house in Winchester, so we started looking out in the surrounding towns. And I can remember her mother saying, what are you moving way out in the country for? Why do you want to go way out there? Because it used to, Burlington, Billerica used to be little camps where people used to go in the summertime or go fishing or whatever.
Right.
But so we bought a house up on Paulson Drive in 1974. It was a ranch. And a few years later in '87, we decided we wanted to see if we could get into a bigger house. We bought a colonial over on off of Donald Road, Marvell, and then when the 3 kids moved out, we downsized again and bought a house around the corner on Donald Lane, and then we're there now. And
nice.
She's saying, when are we going to move into a condo? I said, I don't know.
Yes. The trajectory of a lot of people talking about housing in Burlington.
Yep. Right.
So you've been on the planning board for quite a while. What do you see as sort of like the board's main responsibility or role in town?
Well, obviously, it's making sure that, well, maybe not obviously, but most of what we do is site plan reviews. We also have subdivision authority to approve subdivisions, but Burlington is basically built out. There are some small 4, 5, 6 lot subdivisions that might be able to come in, but everything else is kind of built out. And even the industrial commercial sector is pretty well built out, and what we're seeing is redevelopment there. So
Right.
what I see is that when properties get redeveloped, that we make sure that it's done up to today's standards, and things that maybe weren't as important before, such as sidewalks, get installed in front of the businesses. But the majority of our stuff is commercial industrial now. Also dealing with some of the planned development districts that were approved in the past that still need, the concept basically was approved in the past, and a set of zoning bylaws for a particular planned development district were put in place, but they still need to come to the planning board for their site plan approvals and special permit approvals. So that's what we've been doing most right now. Obviously the big issues obviously the big issues are housing, traffic, that kind of thing. So
Always.
Yep.
You've mentioned a couple, but over your time, what are some of the the projects that kind of stand out to you? Maybe the way they turned out, or just the process and how much work kind of went into sort of working with the developer to kind of shape
Right.
the idea. What sort of stands out as sort of big accomplishments?
Yeah. Well, I think in Burlington we're lucky that we have some local developers who are very good developers, and I think one of the biggest or best projects, I guess, I would say, was the Northwest Park Planned Development District. The developer, Nordblom, came in and actually asked town meeting to appoint a committee of people. About 10 people, I think, were involved, and he started working with them first, and then got the planning board involved, and it was a very very good process, let me put it that way, and it seems to be going well. That I would say that's one of the Burlington's flagships. The Northwest New England Executive Park, now known as the District, that was came about when we thought that maybe we needed another zoning district to be known as the business district, or the office business district, and going through that, we realized that really wasn't going to work, and so they went forward and got PDD approved. That's still in process. Well, Northwest Park is really still in process
Yeah,
too.
a lot of work
But
being done. on all of it.
I think those stand out. The fact that Millipore sits up on the top of what used to be Wheeler Road, now called Summit, I think that was a good project. That's probably one of my mistakes. Was originally there was a Target proposed there, and
Yeah, I
I
remember.
advocated for that because there was going to be like $1.5 million worth of roadway improvements on the Middlesex Turnpike, and I thought
Right.
one balanced the other, but in retrospect, that was something I shouldn't have done, because what's there now is definitely much better than, and we still got road improvements.
Right, and we still got a Target, smaller one. But
And we still got a Target down, yeah, but we lost the, what was
yeah,
it?
Roche Brothers.
Roach Brothers, which was nice.
Now I know that when some of these big projects come in, or redevelopments come in, the planning board will sort of put some conditions, say like okay, we'll approve this, but we want this sort of other project done in town. What are some of the ones that you think have worked out well? Sidewalks maybe,
Yeah,
or
well-
those road improvements you just mentioned.
Well, we now have sidewalks all the way from the Lexington line to the Bedford line on Middlesex Turnpike. And I can remember dealing with, I think it was Nordblom back then, for a section of sidewalks. There was telephone poles, trees in the way. We had to figure out whether we wanted to snake the sidewalk around the telephone pole and trees. I think that's an accomplishment, having the sidewalks. And we've got one coming forward too. Actually, we'll going to get a sidewalk beside the mall, based on their new building there and their other build-outs that they're doing inside the mall, renovations inside and outside the mall. And we've, I guess what we used to call Trammell Crow Corporate Drive was probably a big accomplishment, because that kind of started the affordable housing thing. They contributed money so that when the state sold the old military housing on South Bedford Street, the town was able to buy it and renovate it and then sell it to first-time home buyers. So that was definitely a step in the right direction. I still think we're going that way. We're for affordable housing, anyways.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about that in various departments and committees. The need for more affordable housing. And so the reason that we're here obviously is because it's for the election, and
Right.
we're not doing a debate because there's only incumbents running. So considering that you will be 5 more years on the board, what are some of the things that are currently going on that you kind of look forward to working on, figuring out?
Well, I think there's going to be some major changes happening at Burlington Mall coming up because, as you know from reading the news across the nation, malls are either failing or converting or closing in some cases. So I'm sure we're going to see some good-sized changes there. Whether they may require some changes to our zoning bylaw, which will go through town, which obviously goes through town meeting. I think that's going to be very interesting. We started a master plan a couple of years back, and I'd like to see that completed. I will push to see that completed. And we're once again working on the town's sign bylaw. There's a relatively new committee called the Zoning Bylaw Review Committee, and it has a which I'm a planning board representative on, and we set up a subcommittee to deal with signs to try and get through changing our sign bylaw to what it should be. Actually, the people on that sign subcommittee have committed to staying there until it gets done this time. I mean, I was on one of the sign bylaw review committees back when Frank Moran was the building inspector, who was the building inspector before John Clancy, way back when. And there's been 2 other attempts beside that, and none of them have actually been successful. So we'd really like to see something happen.
It's been a long time.
It has.
Yeah.
A long time coming.
And if you get a nice, easy, clear sign bylaw, you'll make the zoning board of appeals job easier.
Right. And I don't think they'll be disappointed.
Right. Absolutely. Anything else that you're looking forward to in the next term?
To continue, keeping Burlington a great place to live in, and nice place to work in for the people that work here, and just keep on keeping on.
Absolutely. Now I know, like I said, you're running non-contested, but if you have anything, quick message to voters, you've got a camera. You can just
since we've got the camera, just if voters have opinions on what's before the planning board, please come to the meetings. I know that a lot of people don't come because they actually watch it on BCAT, which is great. So at least email the planning board, let them know what you're thinking about, because I think that's over the 30 plus years I've been here, that's probably one of my biggest complaints, and I really don't hear from the residents as much as I think I should.
Okay.
So I'm making my decisions based on what I think that they want me to do. But since I'm elected by the town as a whole, I'd really like to hear from them.
All right. So you heard it, people. Get in
Right.
touch. Let them know what you're thinking. Let them know what you'd like to see.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much for coming in. I know you'll be on there for another 5 years. It's a lot of work, some late meetings. So thank you for what you do, and appreciate you coming here and talking to us about it.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.